Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're discussing one of the most fascinating and, one might say, sophisticated IWC dress watches of all time, part of a model line that's underappreciated in the shadow of the Portuguese, and a specific model reference that you could go an entire lifetime of collecting IWC without ever encountering: the rare and the fabulous IWC Portofino hand-wound Monopusher chronograph. You can see this red gold 8-day power reserve Monopusher column wheel chronograph and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this IWC Portofino with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this extraordinary compound complication. Now, of course, 2016 was the year of the pilot's watch at IWC, so you might be forgiven for missing the fact that IWC's second dress watch line, the Portofino, introduced one of its most distinctive and mechanically involved references since the inception of the line in the early 1980s. Now, the watch on my wrist is huge, 45 millimeters across the round of the case, not including the crown with its winding capability and its coaxial monopusher. This is a watch of sports watch scale. It even dwarfs most of the Portuguese line, but it has a combination of refinement and size that's uncommon. Usually oversized means garish and in your face. Here, it just means there's more to love. Now, the watch is reasonably slim in profile. I measured it at 13.4 millimeters thick, and you can see that glorious domed sapphire that adds about half a millimeter to the thickness. Now, because of the domed bezel and the domed sapphire, it's easy to slide this one underneath the dress cuff, and it's actually remarkable that it's only 13.4 millimeters thick, and you'll see why in a moment. From lug to lug, it's a very manageable 53 millimeters across the wrist. So, for example, if you can wear a modern Rolex GMT Master 2 or Submariner on a bracelet, you can wear this with absolute security and style on your wrist. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. I believe you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14.5 to 15, the lower end of the scale if your wrist is more oval than round. Now, it's hefty. The case is substantial, and so are the lugs. The style is almost of a pocket watch with welded-on lugs or soldered lugs to create a wristwatch, and that's not really a coincidence, as the first Portofino reference was effectively a 90 series Portuguese, or I should say IWC pocket watch movement inside a wristwatch case, a completely different aesthetic than the Portuguese. Now, you can see the strap is a Santoni piece, a beautiful sort of almost faded brown. It has several different brown tones. It has decisively more life in it than a conventional leather strap, as it appears almost some of the natural elements of the coloration of the alligator remain. Again, it's more like a spectrum from black to a light brown or saddle. Very intriguing, of course, made by Santoni, the Italian leather specialist. Their signature signal orange calfskin is on the bottom. A simple vintage-style pin buckle makes for easy adjustment on the fly and maintains the old school vibe. The case is simple. Like I said, it appears to be a pocket watch with traditional straight welded on lugs, very much like a conversion watch from the early 20th century. IWC was looking to emulate that style with the original Portofino, which I want to say was the reference 5251, but it was basically a watch that looked like a giant fried egg with white enamel dial and yellow gold case. Here we have a gold that IWC describes as red gold, or 5N. 5N is the most intense. You can see it is not pink, it is not rose. It does have more of a red tone and coloration to it, and that's echoed in all of the appliques as well as the hands of the dial. Now, the dial is a opaline or silver matte. It has a very slight pebbly grain to it when you view it at close range. The contrast with the registers at 6 o'clock for 60 seconds and chronograph minutes at 12 o'clock is that there is a granular concentric series of brushed surfacing that moves from the polished golden chaptering all the way inboard to the inner disc. So contrast in tone distinguishes the sub-registers from the dial base itself. And you'll note that there is a cruciform balance and symmetry to this dial. Power reserve counterweighted by the date as well as the marquee. And of course, there's an axis from 12 to 6 comprising minutes, chronograph seconds, civil time hours and minutes, and of course constant seconds at 6 o'clock. It is a very crisp monopusher. You can see how it's coaxial with the crown that's used for winding and setting. Now the watch features a handsome array of tones, everything from black print to red to rose gold, or I should say red gold on the dial side, and everything is upscale, including the date window aperture, which features a little bit of a step down and a taper rather than a sheer break from the plane of the dial down to the date disc. Turn it all over and you are greeted by what may be the largest column wheel to be found in a wristwatch. Now the column wheel architecture is quite crisp to actuate. You feel it, you hear it, and it's on a nightmare scale. It's simply immense. It's almost the size of the balance. This is also one of the better manual wind executions of IWC's 50,000 series of automatic calibers. That's the root of this caliber. It started as an automatic. But whereas so many of the manual wind versions of this caliber family wind up looking barren and sterile, mostly because of the inclusion of the chronograph architecture and the column wheel with its levers and horns, this one actually has a lot to display, and it winds up being finer and more intriguing than the automatic on which it's based. The best of the manual wind 50,000 series, you can see it retains the key features such as the free sprung balance. It does have a 4 Hz or 28,800 vibration per hour beat rate, just like the latest 50,000 series movements. And there is an overcoil hairspring in there, which is beautifully executed by hand and helps to cancel out the effects of gravity on the timing of the watch. Now the watch does feature additional functionality, including hacking seconds, and there is a quick set such that you can rapidly cycle the date should the watch run down. The tactile sensation from operating that enormous column wheel is everything you would expect. It's crisp, it's well defined, and you can hear it. There's a sharp and positive snap as it goes into effect. Now, the movement finishing is to a high standard, but principally mechanical. What you're paying for with this watch is the sheer level of technical refinement, all in-house watchmaking, IWC's own case, IWC's distinctive Portofino design. If you want the IWC complication that's not a Portuguese, that's not a pilot, that's not an ingenieur, that's not an aquatimer, if you want the dress line that's not the Portuguese, most definitively, and you want the big watch that's not a big pilot, this is a fantastic way to get into IWC, probably with a model and a reference that none of your friends, even if they're hardcore fans of Schaffhausen, will have ever seen in person. You can see and you can purchase this reference 5151-04 on our website.